everyone, and welcome to maybe the start of a new series. It kind of depends on how much I regret making this video in a few days when I see all these characters absolutely dominating me in my ranked games. But nonetheless, what the video is going to be about is we're just going to talk about some of the best gods currently as of August 7th, or I think patch 7.4, not really sure. It'll be in the title and the description. But as of the current patch, what gods you should be playing in order to carry your ranked games with. Maybe you're stuck in Elo-Hell, as they call it. And you're just trying to get out. Your teammates keep bringing you back down, and you just need those characters that can basically one-man army carry the whole game. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Not only are we going to talk about the gods and why they are good, but also we're going to show you the builds so that you're not just, loading into ranked games with no idea on what to be building. These gods are going to be in no particular order, and there's about 8 or 9 of them, and they're going to be for different roles: jungle, mid, and support, usually, and maybe ADC. Usually those are the best roles to carry from. Although, we do have a character that you can carry from solo with. So let's just kind of get right into it. The first guy we're going to talk about is Arachne. So Arachne, kind of been a meme in the past, but right now with the Golden Blade meta and all the auto attack items, she is absolutely destroying. She is so good from bronze, literally bronze to Grandmasters level ranked. I mean, she even destroys people in Grandmasters. And the reasoning is just because the items are way too strong on her right now. She can hold the W key and just run at people all game. So you're going to be playing her in the jungle. I don't know why I was typing in Arachne. You're going to be going Assassin's Blessing and Tier 1 Golden Blade, of course, in the jungle. And then, of course, you go the Health Pot and Hog so that you can hog your bat camps. Oh, it's a consumable now. You can hog your back camps after going speed to blue. Then you hog back camps and then you go mid. The only thing about Arachne is that you can also put your spiders on the blue buff, so you'll hit level 2 without having to go there. Tell your solo laner to start the blue. You put 2 webs on it, and then you just go from speed to backs and then gank middle lane right away. And you can get a lot of early kills, a lot of cheese kills. I can't believe I'm making this video, but you can get a lot of cheese kills to carry your ranked games with. I'm going to have so many mid laners dying in no time, but first item, you're going to be going Golden Blade, of course. You can also, a lot of people like to experiment and just skip boots, but I always say to go boots on pretty much every character in the game because boots are the most cost-efficient item in the game, and it's a very, very big power spike for you. But you can also just not go boots. You're going to be going Golden Blade, boots into Serrated. Serrated Edge is just so, the base stats are insane on it. It's obviously very good on Arachne because she gets all 3 of her base abilities on cooldown very fast when she combos people. And then you basically just go auto attack items from here. A lot of times there's a lot of double lifesteal going on right now in the meta, so Toxic Blade is a very crucial item to pick up. And then you can kind of figure out what you want to go last item. You can go a Kin Size for more damage. You can go a Mantle if you really need that. I'd say that most of the time you just go all in on the damage and make sure that you're actually killing the people that you're diving in the backline. You can also get a Magi's for your boots late game. You can maybe go at 6 item if you really need that. They have a lot of CC and they're kind of bursting you down before you can get there. But if not, then just go Mantle in place of boots. Pretty straightforward, just auto attack build. Golden Blade really allows you to kind of power farm the jungle on most characters, but especially on a character like Arachne. You can get a lot of cheese early kills. It's going to help you snowball those ranked games and get some free low. But at the end of the day, Arachne has one of the best 1v1s in the game, and it is definitely apparent with the builds that are being used right now. So that's Arachne, and to kind of keep in line with the auto attackers, we're just going to talk about Baka next. Baka, for the same reason Arachne, Baka is probably the best Golden Blade user in the game because of his passive. He can kind of just go from buff to buff and just kind of hyper farm the jungle really, really fast. Whereas he doesn't have the same gank potential as Arachne. Arachne's early gank is a lot better. Baka's hyper farm potential is a lot better as well, and I think he can carry just a little bit better in the mid to late game fights. Arachne's very good at the 1v1, whereas Baka is very good at just like snowballing and being really far ahead in W King in those mid game team fights. The build, pretty similar. The only thing I think with Baka is that you kind of want hastened on him, so the start is going to be the same. You're going to be going Assassin's Blessing, Tier 1 Golden Blade. You're going to be going that Health Pot, and as well as Hog. Hog just makes it so you get to mid a lot faster, and it can help you snowball the early game by being able to go for the red buff, getting a kill on the mid laner, whatever you need to do given the situation. But you're going to be going into Golden Blade. Warrior Tabi, I think, is a little bit better on Baka, even though attack speed is nice for his 3, getting more use of his 3 out. The scaling that you get for this, for your heal, for your 1, and even for, you already have attack speed in your passive, right? So the power spike you get from Warrior Tabi with that attack speed that you get from your passive, you're actually be swinging really, really hard. The only difference between Arachne is that you would go hastened here. And then people have different builds on Baka. Some people go crit, some people just go like the kin size route. But I actually think going into the percent pen with like Atalanta's and Serrated Edge is really good. Because before it was really awkward for Baka to get full percent pen. But now part of the reason I think he doesn't fall off as hard late game is that he can go into stuff like Atalanta's and Serrated and get extra physical pen so that he, or percent physical pen so that he doesn't fall off in those late game stages. And then of course late game you can round out the build with a Mantle. You could round it out with the Magi's. Or if you really wanted to, you can just round out like with the Stone Cutting, a little bit extra movement speed, a little bit extra damage. And of course, kin size is always an option. So kind of just what you need depending on the game. But I promise you, most of the time as Arachne or Bakasura, if you get these characters and you go these first 4 items, the game should probably be over by the 20-minute mark. I mean, if you're doing things correctly, just hyper farming, ganking when you can, and just running around and insta-killing every camp, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. You maybe won't even get to the point where you can even sell your boots. So Baka is also something you should be playing. The only solo laner that I think can really, really hard carry right now your ranked games, or at least that I would suggest. There's characters like Amma that can do pretty well, and Wukong. I think they're fine, but a character I think that if you lock it in, you have a really good chance of not only winning solo, but carrying the game is Cthulhu, and we've already done the build for Cthulhu in our other video. I guess Stone of Guy wasn't here, but yeah, basically Teleport and Thorns. If you really want to know or learn more about Cthulhu and why I think he's so good, you can watch the top 5 solo video. But other than that, it's pretty standard. Warriors Blessing, Shoes of Focus, Gaia for that extra health, so you know, because it works, your ultimate works off your maximum health, so the 400 health you get from Gaia is really good. Breastplate and a Void Stone, so you cover both your physical and your magical defense, and you also get some damage from Void Stone. Ethereal, lots of health and lots of damage, and then round it out with a Gauntlet of Thebes, or whatever item you need. You can go Mantle, Spectral if they have a lot of crit, Onis if they have a lot of magical damage. Pretty straightforward. And like I said, Cthulhu's team fights are insane. He's the best solo lane team fighter in the game, and because of that, right now, you can't really snowball games from solo, so you got to be useful in the team fights. And a lot of characters aren't useful in the team fights, whereas Cthulhu is very, very useful there. Very, very hard to kill, has a lot of CC because he always has his knockup, and does a lot of damage, and just kind of W keys. That's the thing you're going to recognize about all these characters, is that they're really good for rank because they W key. And Freya's no exception. Freya's going to be the next character we're talking about. Played in ADC, you can also maybe mess around with her in the jungle and mid, but if you really want to make sure that you're winning your games, then just play her in the ADC role. Pretty standard start. You just go Hunters into the ring 1, and the reason that you go the tier 1 of ring, usually, you know, you want to rush boots on a lot of characters and all that, you would just go 2 health, 2 multi, I believe, and you go beads, of course, on basically any ADC or mid laner. But you would be going this, and the reason you want to go ring and rush into the ring is because Ring of Hecate gives you a lot of sustain and fight potential in lane. So the problem with magical ADCs before is that they weren't very strong in lane at fighting physicals. Physicals could bully them really hard because not only their sustain was a little bit better with dev gloves, but also because they just hit harder. You know, they were just they were able to hit harder early game. But Ring of Hecate actually reduces the power of the person that they're hitting, right? So it just allows you to it allows these Freya characters, these Oloruns, all these magical ADCs to really 1v1 early on in the game when they weren't really supposed to, you know? You kind of just go, the thing about Freya is that you can kind of get away with going, you kind of go the same general items, but you can get away with going them in different ways or different routes, if you know what I mean. So you can go Hasten Ring here, 3rd item into a Typhon's, just to like get that extra lifesteal because it's going to combo really well. And the reason that double lifesteal is so potent right now is not only because Typhon's is really good, Ring of Hecate is really good, but in general, in ranked, a lot of people forget to build anti-heal, and you're just going to out-sustain the crap out of everybody on the map and just absolutely dominate people. You always want to go Demonic, though, just because Demonic is still very good. It's not like Executioner. It hasn't been nerfed. It still gives you 30% prot shred, which is insane. So you just fill out the build with that. And then you always want to go a Telekines, just because Telekines is probably the single best magical ADC item. It gives you so much damage, so much DPS. 100 power, 25% attack speed, but that passive makes you hit really hard. And it's no exception for Freya, so that's kind of the build. You can always get a defensive option if you really need that, if you're getting dove really hard. If you go Mantle of Discord plus a lot of lifesteal, it's a lot of effective health that you're getting back. You got to think of it like building health with protections. Basically, lifesteal is health. It's effective health that you're getting back most of the time, unless they have a ton of anti-heal. So the Mantle makes you really, really hard to kill because of that as well. You could also go on Magi's if you're getting CC'd really hard. And there's also some other options that you can maybe go on Freya, like Spear of the Magus and Toxic Blade if they have a ton of healing. Toxic Blade does give you 15 flat pen, so that's something to keep in mind when building Freya or any ADC. Kind of helps with that DPS, 30% attack speed, 15 flat pen. Pretty good damage item, all things considered. So yeah, that's Freya. up next is going to be Hebo. And the reason for Hebo is, Hebo's always been good in ranked since like the dawn of time. But he's also good with a double lifesteal build, and he's good as a flex. You can play him in jungle, you can play him in mid, and you could probably play him in ADC to make him work. But for the most part, I think you should play him in jungle and mid. He's really good in the jungle right now because he can just walk up and one-shot camps, and he can kind of keep up with those Golden Blade characters pretty well with his camp clear. He's also good against the Golden Blade characters because he can burst a lot of those auto attackers down, and his 2 is really good for all their slows. Obviously, Arachne has a slow, Baka has a slow, and a character that we're going to talk about, Nemesis, has a slow. So Hebo actually has a really good matchup into all those characters right now, and for that reason, you can play him in jungle or mid and get away with it and feel pretty good about it. So I'm just going to assume you're playing him in the jungle because that's kind of where I think he's best right now. You're going to be going tier 1 Tiny Trinket for that extra lifesteal. I personally like to do this. I like to go 3 multi-pots and a hog just so that you can walk over and hog your back camps. Like I said, get to mid quicker, and it can just allow you to snowball even faster, especially if you can get an early kill. But for the most part, you're just going to be going Shoes of the Magi. You're not going to go. You're not going to build into this Tiny Trinket first. You want to go boots first, like basically as always in the jungle, or at least a movement speed item first so you can run around. Into Bancross. Bancross is just such a sick item on Hebo. It makes perfect sense for him. Very, very good on him. Divine or Spear the Magus. Again, there's a lot of lifesteal right now, so as a jungler, you're going to want to build Divine so that you can dive those characters that have a lifesteal and still be able to one-shot them. But if they don't have a lot of lifesteal or no healing, then you can go into Spear the Magus. Spear the Magus is still pretty good, and so is Spear the Deso. But I'm just going to assume that most people are aware of the meta and they're going to be building Divine. You could also go double Flat Pen because you're going to be going on their carries. So the Flat Pen that you get from Divine and Spear the Magus is going to be really, really good. And you're going to proc the Spear the Magus passive with your 3, and then you're going to ult them, and it's going to do so much extra damage. You're just going to one-shot them. And then you can go into a Typhons and a Soul Gem. I think Soul Gem is really, really nice on Hebo. Again, you don't have a lot of percentage pen. You get 10% here. You don't have a lot of percentage pen in this build, but it's not really that big of a deal because, again, as a Hebo jungle, you're going to be blinking onto their carries, and you're going to try and one-shot them, and they won't have a lot of prots. Now, let's say that they're a pretty tanky squad. You may need to go something like Soul Reaver to help out with killing their tanks, or maybe an Obsidian to round it out or anything like that. You can always sell your boots for something like Soul Reaver or something like Obsidian if you really need to. This is a build that you could also go in the mid lane. Just pretty standard. He lifesteals a lot. Say that you get poked out in a late game team fight and you have this build, you can walk over to a jungle camp and basically full heal off of it. And Soul Gem is amazing for killing carries and also for healing. So kind of just a pretty good build for a Hebo jungle and also for Hebo mid. So definitely something that you should try out, especially into those auto attack characters. So this next one is going to be a little bit weird. I'm just going to put these 2 together. So Horus and Hercules. This is going to be for the support role. Both these characters are going to be very, very good for carrying ranked with, just because, one, they're physical, so they can carry lanes, get a lot of early kills, and snowball really hard, but they're also just very, very hard to lock down and also have a lot of sustain. So we'll just go into Horus and show you the typical Horus build right now. Of course, you're going to be going Guardian's Blessing. That's no different. You're going to be going tier 1 boots, 4 health pots. This is just how it rounds out math-wise. 4 health pots plus a hog. And the reason you go hog is so that you can hog your purple buff and get to the lane really fast. Now, the strategy with Horus and Hercules and a lot of early aggressive supports is that you want to zone your ADC out of the Phantom minion or the Ghost minion in the duo lane. There's a Ghost minion in duo. It's only in duo. It's not anywhere else on the map. And it only gives you XP. And the reason for this is so that people can hit level 2 off the second wave in duo lane. But if you share it with your ADC, you both won't hit level 2. If one person only does the Ghost Minion, if one person only gets the XP, then that person, after the first wave is cleared, after doing purple buff and after doing the first wave and being the only one to get the Ghost Minion, they will hit level 2. Now, the reason that Horus and Hercules are so good at this is because their level 2 is insane. They do so much damage. Horus has obviously a lot of setup with his stun into knockup, but then also Herc has his knockup into stun, really pushes them out of position and gets a lot of early kills with it. This will allow you to snowball the dual lane very, very hard and get you early kills that other characters really wouldn't be able to. You have a lot of options as your first item or as your first boots. Or as your boots, as Horus and Herc. You can get away with Teleria boots, you can get away with Reinforced Greaves, you can get away with Warrior Tabi. Never really want to go Ninja Tabi on either of these characters. I would say most of the time, just to be safe, you should go Reinforced Greaves so that you don't get focused out too hard. Plus, you're going to be going Sledge first item, so you're already going to be making up for some of that physical power lost anyway. This is going to make you really tanky. You're going to be maxed out on CCR already. You already have 40%. That's the max amount of CCR in your first 2 items. You're going to be so tanky with this build already. And you're going to be going into Gauntlet of Thieves just because the aura is really good for your teammates. It's also a really good selfish tanky item. Gives you a lot of tankiness, and we all know this. Then you're going to be going into Relic Dagger because the most useful part of supports is their relics. And if you go something like, obviously you're going to be going Blink on Herc and Horus, just so you can be really, really aggressive. You're also going to be going Frenzy. You could also go Shell if you want to P really hard for your team. If the upgraded Shell will be really good against their auto attack junglers because it'll absorb their auto attacks. You could also go Sprint. You can maybe go Horrific. I'd say that most of the time Blink Frenzy is really, really good. You want to upgrade Frenzy right away. That bad boy is really, really good around objectives, and that's your job as a support to basically support your team around those objectives. And Relic Dagger is going to help you keep these up more often. Then you're going to go into a Pridwin, and what you'll notice is that this item gives you prots for each side, physical and magical. This item does the same thing. Gauntlet of Thieves gives you physical and magical prots. Relic Dagger gives you physical and magical prots. And the best part about that is that Pridwin's shield works off both of your prots. So all of these prots added up are going to be really, really good. And also as a support, you're going to be getting hit by pretty much everybody on the map, physical or magical. And then you can round out the build with a mantle. You could round it out with a spirit robe if you really need that. You could go maybe more of like an aggressive option. Say you're like at the point where you're going to be sieging a lot, you could go into an Emperor's armor to help out your team with that. You got a lot of options last, but the core of the build are basically these 5 items. And like I said, you should be able to snowball a lot of games with Horus and Herc support. Basically the same build on both of them, same relics and everything like that. And even though support may not be the best role to carry from, with these characters, I think that you'll see that you're going to put a lot of work in, a lot more work than... You're basically going to be like a second jungler on the map and basically do whatever you want early to mid-game. So that is Horus and Herc. And you're probably not surprised by this one. Nemesis is the next character we will talk about. Another character really good with Golden Blade. But you don't need to build Golden Blade on her. That's the thing. She can get away with more of an ability-based build. But I do think the prowess and the reason she's so strong right now is that she can go Golden Blade. She's actually better in 1v1s against characters like Arachne, Bakasura, and she's also good at diving the good characters right now, like Freya and stuff. But they also just buffed her, so her early game is a lot better, and she also just keeps up with that hyper farming, She kind of can do her thing and be unkillable mid to late. This character is so hard to punish when she makes a mistake just because her shield heals her for so much. It blocks so much damage. She has a lot of mobility. She gets a lot of prots from her ult. She slows people so they can't catch up to her. And her 1v1 is one of the best in the game because of her passive. So the build that I would recommend to carry most of your ranked games with just to be able to W key is Golden Blade into Boots, into Toxic Blade. Now the reason for this is, one, with these 3 items, you're still going to be doing a lot of DPS. Again, the 30% 15 pen that you get for Toxic Blade basically makes it a DPS item, makes it a damage item. But you're going to be going into crit. So you're going to be going into Malice because the cooldown you get from that's really, really nice for Nemesis. She's kind of an auto attack and cooldown character. Allows her to weave in and out of fights and do whatever she wants. Into Wind Demon. Now you get percent pen from Wind Demon. So that's going to be good against their tanks when you crit, of course. You get percent pen. That's going to be good against their tanks, but it's also just going to be good for your attack speed steroid when you're diving the backline and just owning them. And then you can round it out with whatever you need. That's basically what the 6th item always is just whatever you need in that game. You could go another crit item. You can go lifesteal, like a Serrated Edge, so that you can dive them even harder and give you a little bit more damage and physical pen. So maybe you can hit their tanks as well. You can go Mantle if you need that. Magi's as well if their CC is just stopping you from getting any work done. You could also run it out with a Deathbringer if you're just really trying to commit to that crit. And you could also go something like Bloodforge just in case you want to get that shield by the end of or at the beginning of a fight so you can continue on in the fight. So yeah, this is the build. And then, of course, you're just going to be going Blink and Beads on Nemesis, but also Blink Beads on every single auto attack jungler. Blink, first relic, so that you can get early kills. I guess I should have talked about this more, but we'll really talk about it right now. Go Blink on Nemesis, Baka, Arachne, base Hebo even in the jungle. Go Blink on every single jungler so that you can make plays early game and snowball the game. It's going to get you kills that you otherwise would not have gotten. And yeah, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I need Beads. They have CC. I'm scared of it. Blink is actually good defensively as well, and sometimes people can't even CC you if you blink in and insta-kill them. I know it sounds silly, but it's just true. If you can start a fight and instantly kill somebody, the whatever else happens next in the fight, if you get CC without beads, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So go Blink on these characters to make plays early game so that you can snowball the game so you can get more elo. And then last, but certainly not least, definitely not least, Olorun. Ring of Hecate, Typhon's Fang, it's just too strong on this character. Now with this character, I think that you should go, you can play him in ADC or in mid. I think he's a little bit better in mid, but he's also, very, very strong in the ADC role. Pretty similar start to Freya. You're just going to be going Hunters, Tier 1 Tiny Trinket. And then in mid lane, you would probably just go 3 health pots and maybe 2 mana if you're not comfortable conserving your mana. But if you're comfortable conserving your mana, then you can just go to a multi. You're going to be going boots first. If you're in the mid lane, you should go boots first. You want that extra movement speed. You're going to, I just messed this up. Not Tiny Trinket. You're going to be going tier 1 ring rather than Tiny Trinket. Although you could go Tiny Trinket because you're going to go into a Typhon's anyway. But you kind of want to get that Ring of Hecate as soon as possible. So it's really up to you. But either way, third item is going to be that Typhon's thing. A little bit different than Freya. You kind of want to get that double lifesteal right away. And that percent pen is going to be really good in those mid fights where you're hitting the support. Into a demonic. I really like Toxic Blade on Olorun. I just think, there's a lot of sustain items right now, and the attack speed you get from this plus the flat pen, like I said, just crazy DPS. But if they have absolutely no lifesteal or healing that you need to worry about, then you can just go straight into that Talakines. Now, the thing about Olorun is that I think you should go Mantle last item. He's a character that's going to get dove really, really easily. So the fact that you have all this double lifesteal, all this DPS with the demonic and Talakines and the passive from Talakines, and you combine that with the Mantle, like I said, a lot of effective health. You got to think about lifesteal like it's health, right? Especially if they don't have anti-heal, it's going to give you so much sustain throughout the game, and it's just going to make you so hard to kill and so hard to dive. And trust me, you do enough damage as Olorun with these 5 items. But if you don't really want it, then I suggest getting a Rod of Tuhiti on Olorun because his passive works really well with high magical power items because he gets extra crit from it. So the Rod of Tuhiti, the 160 power you get from this is going to be absolutely insane. But most of the time, I think Mantle will suffice. And then, of course, there's always those situational items like Toxic Blade. We'll throw that in there. There's those situational items. I don't think you need Hasten Ring on Olorun because you get so much movement speed in your ult, and that's when you're going to be your strongest. So don't really worry about that. If they have a lot of dive, whether you're playing Olorun or Freya, if they have a lot of auto attackers who are diving you, Nemean is also a very good last defensive option because it will block a lot of the the auto attacks and the DPS that they're going to be doing to you mid to late game, and it's going to make it very, very hard for them to out 1v1 you in those in those fights where they're just trying to run at you. So yeah, that is Olorun, but keep in mind Nemean is also good on Freya, and I guess even Hebo, to be honest. Basically, Nemean seems more of like a single defense item per carries than it does a tank, so just got to keep that in mind. But that is actually going to be it. Those are the, I guess, 8 or 9 characters. However, whatever number it is, those are the characters that I wanted to show you guys, talk to you about, so that you guys can carry your ranked games right now. We're talking about jungle, we're talking about solo, we're talking about support, ADC, mid, every single role. I know I'm a solo lane player, but trust me, I do know a thing or two about the other roles. So yeah, try out these characters with these builds. And if you really have nowhere to look, just copy these builds, build or item for item. Play these characters in the roles that I talked about and try to practice them a little bit and get a feel for them. And trust me, in no time, you're going to be carrying your ranked games in this current meta. So, like I said, if I don't hate myself after making this video and seeing these characters everywhere, maybe by next patch, I'll do another video like this so that people can be getting their Elo and get out of Elo-Hell. Because people always ask me, how do I carry ranked? What gods do I play? What should I do? Well, here you go. Here's a video for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out. Love you all. Bye-bye.